Today we're going to be talking about force. This should be on whatever is your next clean page in your journal. A force at its most basic level is just a push or a pull. We measure force in newtons. Sometimes those can be seen with just a capital N. And if you've heard the name Newton before, it's probably because of Sir Isaac Newton, who did a lot of work in discovering different types of forces and helping us to understand force in general. We're going to talk about 5 different types of forces. The first 2, once again, are the most basic and most simple, pushing and pulling. Another type of force that we've already talked about would be magnetism. Magnets have opposite sides and they have magnets have 2 sides. North side, south side, or negative side, and a positive side. If we want to pull those 2 magnets together, you have to have opposite poles facing each other, so a negative and a positive side facing each other, in order to attract. For a quick picture, we're going to draw 2 magnets. We have our positive side and our negative side, south, north. And the magnetic field around them is going to start attracting these magnets to each other. This is an example of magnets pulling. Then the reverse of all of this is that like poles will repel or push away. Notice this time the same poles are facing each other. And this time when we draw the magnetic field, you're not going to see anything in between here because they're pushing away from each other. Last thing to remember is that magnetism is only going to work on certain metals. We have 4 different types of metals that magnets are attracted to: steel, iron, nickel, and cobalt. The next type of force that we are going to talk about is gravity. And gravity is the pull to the center of the earth. We already told you this is pulling. So gravity does a lot for us. This is what keeps the moon in place. I get all the time is, why don't we go through the center of the earth? So we are going to take a quick detour and talk a little bit about that. Okay, you do not have to write any of this, but we're going to talk about it. The earth is made up of about 4 different layers. You have the layer that we stand on, called the crust, the mantle, the core, specifically the outer core, and then we have our inner core. You stand, like we said earlier, on the crust. The only reason that gravity does not push us down into the center of the earth is because we have another force acting on us, pushing us up, called normal force. So normal force is the same or it's equal to gravitational force, meaning they cancel each other out. So as long as there is normal force pushing us up, gravity can't push us all the way down through the earth. So why don't we fall through the earth? Because normal force pushes us up, canceling out gravity. The last type of force that we are going to talk about is friction. Is when something slows or stops moving. Often we just say this is when objects rub together. For example, let's say we have two balls on two different surfaces. Our first surface will be just probably the playground, some gravel road. And it's a little bumpy, but not too bad. And then our second ball will roll down the hallway. The hallway is a smooth surface. The rougher the surface, the more friction that surface has. That means this ball rolling on the gravel is going to use more friction just because the surface is more bumpy. The surface is rougher. One way we can see this is by the amount of time it takes a ball to stop or slow down when we're outside playing versus if we roll it down the hallway. For your summary, I want you to tell me how gravity, magnetism, and friction are all related. What do they have in common? Use your notes to answer your summary. When you're done, go to your next item in your agenda.